I'm so mad I don't own a cowboy hat because you know I would have worn that for this entire review and I would have looked good. It's so rare that I get to enjoy trans theatre, so anytime it comes along and every time I get the opportunity to go and see something that is led and written by trans people, you know I'm there and you know my hopes are high. And that's why I'm so glad that I came out so positive about Cowboys, the recent transfer from the RSC. This play, written by Charlie Josephine, is set in this very oppressed western town, and when trans cowboy Jack comes to visit, they turn this town around and allow everyone in this town to embrace who they really are. So, what exactly worked about Cowboys for me? Let's find out. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie. I talk about theatre. I am the most chaotic theatre person on the internet. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do video essays, and if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps out the channel. But let's dive into Trans Cowboys. Yeehaw. I think there are so many really great elements about Cowboys. I think one of the things I really enjoy how it does is it kind of pushes away a lot of the realism. This is a trans story that's set in the past, but really behind all of it is a reflection on modern society and how we view trans people today. And by leaning away from the realism, it allows to play with things and to make it really, really queer and embrace that weirdness and embrace that just over-the-top campness that makes this play really, really enjoyable. There's multiple instances where the cast will break the fourth wall. There's so many elements that are just so over the top, such as Jack's elaborate dance sequences that are all accompanied by really modern music. Even the choice to not go with an American accent all plays up this idea that this is not realistic. We're not diving into complete realism here, highlighting that key point of this is meant to be more of a reflection. But still, there's so many elements about it that still makes it feel like a genuine Western. Just, you know, a lot more fruity. But I love that. And I think there's a clear aura of authenticity here. There's a lot of trans stories that aren't written by trans people, and a lot of the time you can really tell. I've seen many plays that just haven't really understood what it means to be trans. Who would have thought that an actual trans person would understand what it means to be trans and would write authentic feeling plays about it? It's such a wild concept. I think one of the key moments in this play that just really gets that feeling is one single line that just made me feel so seen. There's a very typical line that's told to a lot of trans people about confidence. And like, I would never have the confidence to do this. And I would never, it's so clear that you have so much confidence. And there's a really great remark in this play that Jack makes, where they basically say something on the lines of, it's not confidence, it's just truth. And that speaks to me so much. That one single little line, that one little throwaway thing is just so truthful to my experience. I'm not doing any of this because I want to feel confident. I'm doing it because this is right. I've tried different things, and those were not right for me. This is right. This is my truth. I love that idea, and I love how much that speaks to me as a trans person. And it's so nice to watch something that you can actually see yourself in. Oh, I love it so much. And that's what I think Act 1 does really well of this play. It's this big celebration and this slow movement as this town kind of realizes how, like, stuck up it's been. They start to embrace Jack. They start to embrace the queerness of everything. They go from very stuck up and stiff and suddenly letting go and being more free, able to love who they want to love and dress how they want to dress. There's so many lovely stories within this. We get another character in the town who comes out as trans. And we get to see this lovely moment of how Jack just kind of embraces them. I love how Jack helps the sheriff get over his alcohol addiction. I love how he feels more free, and you can see such a massive change in his attitude and how he holds himself. And then, of course, there's the relationship that Jack builds with Lillian. From the start to the end of Act 1, you just start to fall in love with this town. You fall in love with these characters. And it all comes to a head when you finally see all of this progress this town has made, for it instantly to be reverted as the men return to the town at the start of Act 2. This is where this play really dives into a lot of the tension and a lot of the different attitudes towards queer people. As we get this sudden, drastic tonal change, and the old order just storm in and are instantly repulsed by this progress that this town has made. You can see how instantly the color and the vibrancy and the joy is just completely washed out of these characters that we've seen finally open themselves up. And Act 2 is a tough watch. There's so many really tense moments and some really hard-hitting things as these guys are trying but failing to fight back against their status and against their past relationships with these people that feel so different now. There's so many moments where you just... It's so hard to watch. One of these moments is definitely when Frank starts to make the sheriff drink again. He's made so much progress. Before, he was a little bit useless. His addiction had worn him down so much. He was shaking non-stop. And to see someone come in and instantly diminish this progress and just slowly force him to drink more and more, it's painful in the text, but this direction and how slowly they take the scene just pushes the knife in further and further as he slowly loses track and he tries to push back against it, and you can see Frank push him more and more and more until the sheriff is the one asking for the alcohol. It brings that level of discomfort and shows how much of a bad influence these guys are on this town. Instantly, in only a matter of hours, reverting all of this positive change that Jack has made. What I will say is I think it's a shame that so much of Act 2 is led by Lillian's husband, Frank. We have 4 men who come back to the town, and all of it feels like it's very much on him. So we don't really get to know too much about the other husbands, which becomes more of a problem later in Act 2, where we're trying to learn more about them in sequences where we don't really get the time. The most we really learn about the other husbands is that one of them's racist. I wish some more of the time in the first half of Act 2 was spent on the other husbands as well, giving them a bit more of a fairer balance. But all of this tension is completely cut with the arrival of Charlie Pankhurst, another non-binary cowboy played by L.J. Parkinson, who you may know a little bit more for their drag career as the incredible Louis Cypher. Pankhurst is hunting down Jack, and there's this immediate change of leadership in this group the second Charlie Pankhurst comes in. They just immediately take the status away from Frank, and it's so powerful. Their energy, their charisma is so strong that they only have one scene in this show, and it's probably one of my favorites. And this feels like the catalyst to allowing Jack to come back and allowing the town to once again reclaim the progress that they made. And a lot of the conflict come to a head in this final battle, this final ground where everyone is fighting this gang to try and save Jack and, in turn, the town. This final sequence is a non-stop gunfight, and through this gunfight, they start to resolve things and bring things more in line to how they were at the end of Act 1. The problem is, it's really hard to feel like things are being resolved, and we're darting back and forth between a lot of different character beats and a lot of different stories, that this ending kind of feels a little bit muddled. I think on the whole, this ending is the play's weakest element. I think that some more things needed to be resolved a little bit earlier so that this didn't feel like a massive juggling act. It just ended up feeling a little bit too chaotic for you to properly follow it and to really feel engaged with the different character stories. There's a lot of great comedy in here, there's a lot of great moments in here, but I feel like it does get a little bit lost behind what is a cool enough sequence. On the whole, for the plot of this show, I think there are so many really cool elements here. I love the focus of Act 1, this slow queerification, I'll describe it, of this town. I love Act 2 as these two forces kind of butt heads and we slowly revert back to the old order and we see the power that these men hold over the rest of the town. But I just think it struggles a little bit to fully land the ending. And if they kind of spoke up a little bit earlier, if we saw more signs of them trying to fight back a bit more before Charlie Pankhurst comes in, I feel like a few more of these beats would have been easier resolved in that ending sequence. Because in its current state, it's a little bit too long and it's a little bit too chaotic jumping between all of the different groups of characters that it is a little bit of a struggle to get through. But on the whole, this plot has so many interesting elements and there's so much to it that I really did enjoy. Especially as a trans person watching this and seeing trans people and trans stories being reflected on stage. But something I haven't mentioned yet is how funny this play is. There's so much comedy, especially that comes through the, I can't believe I'm going to use this, anti-realism, non-realism, non-naturalism. Take any of the three. I like anti-realism. That's my favorite so far. It's not the scientific term, but I'm going with it because I like how it sounds. I think one of the funniest ongoing gags in this show is how Jack constantly grabs a mic, walking out in one scene, walking around the back of the set and just coming on the other side with a mic stand and a mic attached. You have a mic falling down from the ceiling so they can sing a song. It's hilarious. It's just a silly little cowboy show with trans cowboys and then it goes serious and you're like, oh shit. Oh God, no. Oh no. Oh, I'm uncomfortable. And then yeah. And I like that. That's what I like in my plays. It's funny, it's trans, it's hard-hitting, and it slays. Yeah, that's my criticism. That's your review. Bon appetit. But this cast. Vinnie Heaven plays our titular cowboy, Jack. I really enjoy their portrayal. They lead this play with so much confidence and just a full understanding of the assignment. From the second they enter, there's so much presence about them. There's so much mystery and intrigue. But I think Heaven's true triumph in this play is how they slowly build these relationships. Their chemistry with all of the different people in the town is unmatched. Whether that be through their love interest, Lillian, or their friend who they help come out, Lou, or how they slowly start to befriend and help the sheriff. There's so much humanity behind that portrayal that you're able to instantly fall in love with this hero. I think the heart of this play is very much on Sophie Melville as Miss Lillian. She's a helpful force in this town who we're instantly aligned to, constantly opening her doors to help the other women in the town. And it's so lovely to see her start to build that relationship and to really allow herself to feel more free. Sophie Melville does a really good job at showing this slow transformation of her character, which is instantly regressed when Frank comes back and you just see her at her lowest. Completely reserved, not standing up for anyone else. That fear of her husband is completely captured in this performance and it is heartbreaking to watch. Lee Braithwaite as Lou gets this lovely story in this show as they allow themselves to transition. I think one of my favorite moments that Braithwaite portrays is that first moment where they see themselves in the mirror. They perfectly portray that feeling of this being so right. Sean Dingwell plays Frank, who also actually, if you're a Doctor Who fan, was also Rose Tyler's dad in Doctor Who. And I clicked that within 10 minutes of the show and I was like, oh my God, that's Pete Tyler. That's Pete Tyler. Dingwell's performance is tough. He comes in, he instantly grabs that status and he runs with it. He pushes a lot of these moments where you're meant to be feeling this discomfort and this hatred towards him so far. It's so perfectly done. I think out of a lot of the characters in this show, it's actually Lucy McCormick's Jane who goes on the biggest journey. She's very stressed out, and you can tell how much freedom she gains. So when the men come back into town and this is reverted, I feel like she is one of the biggest losses, but she is also the first one to start to stand up for them. And this moment in the show where she's standing forward and trying to speak up, carefully considering every word, is so well portrayed by McCormick, and you can see the pain and the anguish and the fear in her eyes. It's so strong. And I've already mentioned how much I love the short cameo from LJ Parkinson. Clearly a standout supporting role. Comes in for one scene and just completely steals the show. An absolutely amazing performance, and what a costume. My God, that striking like black cowboy outfit with the green mullet. Oh, I love that. This cast are amazing. This cast is so good. They're so good. And they portray this Blake really well, and they bring you on the stories, and there's also really talented trans people in this show, and whenever there's really talented trans people in a show, I'm like, yes, yes, slay. I love this. Cowboys is a treat. What it gets right, it gets right. From the embracing of a queer story, to the tensions that it builds, from the non-naturalism to the comedy, it just shines in these moments. While I think it struggles to stick the landing as strongly as it does with some of these other elements, it is definitely one I would still recommend. But what do you think? Have you seen Cowboys either at the RSC or in town at the Royal Court? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me out helps the channel. Here's some links to my videos on screen right now, and a link to my Instagram if you want to drop me a follow over there. But that's it for me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!